All right, we'll go ahead and get going. So thanks everyone for coming. So welcome to this month's From the Bench. We are excited here at the San Francisco Center for the Book to be traveling cross country to what's actually near my hometown of Canandaigua, New York. It's Rochester, New York. We're going to be getting a tour of dry ink with Richard Kegler. So without further delay, I'm just going to introduce Richard. Richard Kegler formed the independent digital type house P22 Type Foundry in 1994. And after starting the not-for-profit Western New York Book Arts Center in Buffalo, New York, he became the director of the Wells College Book Arts Center in Aurora, New York. Richard has spent his career combining an interest in traditional printing crafts with entrepreneurial initiatives. His current project, Dry Ink, focuses on pre-digital letterpress printing technologies, typography, and new printing tool development. Kegler is the co-author and designer of several books on typography and the producer of the documentary film, Making Faces, Metal Type in the 21st Century. So it is my great pleasure to introduce Richard Kegler. Richard, let me switch to your spotlight and take it away.
Great. Thanks, Chad. Thanks, everybody, for showing up. And we don't have a whole lot of time, but what I wanted to do is give you a walkthrough of the space. There's one major problem with that is that this was formerly a bank building, and one of the most interesting rooms is a vault, and Wi-Fi doesn't penetrate through the walls of the vault. So I have a quick slideshow which will give you some sense of the space, and then I can walk the laptop around if we need to see other, take a closer look at things that can actually be gotten to. So I'm going to switch over to the slideshow, and then yeah, here we go. So this is actually the building I'm in, which is 25.
Can't quite see you yet, Richard.
Oh, it's not hold
Share
on.
screen.
Hold on, X, technical difficulties. I have to share the screen. Okay, this is there we go. Are we almost there? Is that working?
Perfect.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, so this is 25. Currently, it's 25 East Main Street. Originally, it was 25 Buffalo Street, and this was the site of Frederick Douglass's North Star Press. He actually started the press here. In this building, it was a printing building. You can tell there's a few names of a couple of newspapers, Merck and Rural Home, Rochester Daily Observer. So they may have actually had something to do with the printing of the North Star. There's not a whole lot of information. I don't think we're in the same space in the building. The building has changed a little bit, and I don't know the history of whether the building burned down and they rebuilt it, but it's a little structurally, it seems a little bit different, but same number of floors. So this is what it looked like about a year ago. The sign, the P22 sign there is not real. That's a sort of visualization. The overbuilt bus stop was torn down about a year ago, and over the last year there's been construction, nonstop construction outside my window. And as of today, they put up 2 more flimsy bus stops in the place of this bus stop. So it's a heartbreaker. Anyway, this is what the outside looks like on a must be after a light snow. So here we are in the inside. This is just the same, pretty much the same vantage point where I'm standing, but a little further back. And so the materials in here, and pretty much every physical thing in dry ink is the part of P22 that I've retained. The digital portion of P22 is no longer in my hands, and I'm pretty happy to be dealing with all the heavy stuff, physically heavy, not mentally heavy at all. It's great to have this studio to work in. A different vantage point, typographic library, which is not online. You can't browse the library online, but I do welcome inquiries if somebody's looking for something and I have it. I'm happy to help share. But typography, printing specimens, printing books, it's not quite as complete as some other collections, but it's here. Now, looking back to the back area where the Wi-Fi doesn't reach, sort of going through a back hall, you can see this 2-foot thick bank vault door. And you also see these printing blocks in the foreground. So the printing blocks you're going to see everywhere originated at a company in Buffalo, New York called Pollock Printing. And it was a sign shop that took up an entire city block. And it was bought out by a sculptor / antique dealer who was cutting these things up for about 15 years. And eventually he had to move, and I bought out the remnants of that collection. So you'll be seeing more of those blocks throughout. So getting a little closer to the vault door, it's just utterly fascinating. And so one of the reasons I decided to rent this space was the vault. Thought it would be a great gallery, pop-up shops and galleries, but this was right before the pandemic. In a sealed room without ventilation is probably not a great place to hold public events. Safe deposit box and printing blocks, they just feel natural together. It's going to get more chaotic. So if you're getting a little freaked out by how messy it is, that you haven't seen anything yet. This is a little more minimal. So this is the remnants of a pop-up exhibition of actually some of my prints. And again, you see more safes within the vault, and the walls are all metal. So we just pop up magnets and have a little exhibition. Again, more large blocks on the floor underneath the work table. And heading towards the kitchen, these are things that are not quite resolved. So, I start working on something, get a little distracted. I'll get back to that stuff later. And that's what I keep telling myself anyway. Again, looking into the kitchen, more large blocks. And in the way back, there's a Hammond glider Trimo saw and a hydraulic paper cutter. And again, more blocks. And looking back into the room I'm in now, again, another shelf just full of these blocks. And the bulk of these blocks were made for printing posters and display signage in variety stores like Woolworth and Grant's, Neisner's, a bunch of regional shops, chains. So it's all sort of mid-century advertising, like the real where Mad Men hit the ground floor. It's not glamorous stuff, but it's really fascinating. And then up in the front part where all the construction work's being done is my bindery area, where I use these old library card catalog tables, which are good height for standing and binding. Not a lot of table area, but it suits my needs for binding. And this I won't linger on too long, but this is what my computer workspace looks like. And it's I'm not glossing over anything. This is what it looks like. Sorry. And this is back to what the room I'm in right now should look like. There's a Vandercook Universal 3 and a Reprex 2 and a whole lot of other type. So with that, I'm gonna end that, stop the slideshow, and come back to you and talk to you in person. So, all right. Hold on one second. Wegmans gins or seltzer. Rochester does have a few nice things. The Wegmans seltzer is pretty good. Okay, so dry ink. People ask me why I had the name, and I think if you just say it out loud, dry ink, I wanted some kind of printing pun, and dry ink worked for me. It was a little difficult to actually register the name, but anyway, that's the company name. And so the printing that I do here, sometimes it started out with using these blocks from the Pollock collection. Let's see if I have an unfinished. I have a couple finished and unfinished. This is a work in progress. There's a lot of these blocks were meant to be multiple color blocks, and a lot of times I can't find matching blocks, so I find these ghostly images of outlines of people. And so this one is 3 colors are printed so far, and they weren't really meant to. 2 of them were meant to go together. The third just again, sort of reminiscent of it. So this is a work in progress. A lot of the blocks, as I'm looking for other things. So this is another work in progress, Rochester, New York. The curious culinary contribution to the world from Rochester is the garbage plate. It's it kind of is as good as it sounds. It's not very good. But this block that I have, which has a skyline in the background, was slightly modified to show a couple of the iconic buildings in Rochester's skyline. There's a couple of very space age looking buildings. I don't know that I have the block handy, but if I have the block, I'll bring that back later. And again, another sort of work in progress. This is using advertising blocks that had been cut up and again, sort of missing their counterparts to know what they were highlights for, or even what the fragments were for. So I kind of like finding these mysterious blocks and then kind of working with them as color studies more than anything else. And then one of my latest, it's not quite a client, but a great little taqueria moved in next door, and they didn't have menus, so I offered to do menus for them. This is all hand set in metal and wood, and they really liked it. Before I started on it, I said, I want you to see what kind of printing I actually do, because you know, this might not be what you're thinking when I'm offering to do your menus for you, but they actually loved it. And we did some smaller reproductions, so they're not all hand printed menus, but this was the original menu. And since then, everything that they have, all their, if you want to call it collateral, has basically been done by me here. So Peach Blossom, go check them out. They're right next door. All right, and as I'm throwing these prints around in the background here, this is where it's going to start turning into an infomercial. So I have this little stand here thing. So this, I'm popping this print right there. This is a 3D printed module that can be bolted to a rafter, a 2x4, and put into the ceiling. And so it's a variation on the English, or I don't know if they've originated in England. I just happen to see these types of print hangers in England at a few different shops, and not so much in the US. But basically, it's there's a little void in the side of a board, and then you just basically pop your print in there, and it holds it really pretty solidly until you just push up on the marble, and that just releases it. So these back here are all hanging from these little, call them a dry dock. That's the catchy little name. But my son actually did the 3D modeling and the 3D printing. So we sort of manufacture these, and they can be, again, a handy little print dryer if you're looking for an overhead print drying solution. So there's one of the products. The thing that kind of started down the road of the product line, it was still when P22 was the overarching brand, with the P22 blocks. And you may have seen these. They're actually little plastic 72.1-inch square type high blocks that contain 8 different shapes in a positive and a negative. And with that, you can build up letter forms or patterns or whatever you like. And again, give a full hour-long talk on it, but basically they come in a box, with a stencil. Here's some other things. So they come in sets, and I think, Chad, do you have some of these over at the center?
We do. I have not broken them back out since we bought them before the pandemic. So they're here in my office, but I'm going to put them back out in the print studio soon. Excellent.
Good to hear. So that has been kind of a successful product that was, more of an idea of how I would love to use this thing. It's a variation of the alpha blocks that were made by American type founders, and those were made in metal. The largest size was 36 point, and just thinking about how to make new materials. These were actually injection molded prototypes were made with 3D printing, but the final blocks were made with injection molding, and through a Kickstarter campaign that made it all possible to tool up and actually do those. Another product, which I'll show you, is the rotary angle chase. This is a remake of an older tool that was originally made by the Challenge Machinery Company. Here's a angle chase in a chase. But I thought one way to really show you how this works is to just go over to the press. I can't rotate this because it's locked at a chase right now, and rotating it would cause it all to fall apart. So I think, Chad, we're going to switch over to the other camera. We can just run a press. How are we doing on time, by the way?
We're doing great on time. You got about 10 minutes. And let me, I think your phone might have gone. No, there it is. I got it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to switch to your phone right now. You ready?
Yep. So I'm going to hop over here, and if you can see, the bed of the press. There's a larger version of the angle chase in there. So I'm going to just print. You can kind of follow along. It might be a little noisy. It's a powered motorized press. And then the roller there's a lot of ink on here, so it's going to kind of sloppy sounding. Not too bad. So power carriage. I'm just going to put the first. You kind of see, I think you can see there. There's a ampersand, question mark, couple stars, couple exclamation points, all good stuff. So there's little marks on here. I'm gonna rotate this 1, 2, 3 notches. Repeat the same thing. So it's locked in, but it's not locked in. So it's like that you can turn it. This can only work on a flatbed press like this. If you're gonna do a version of this on a flattened press, they have to be locked tight each time. 1, 2, 3. I probably only go halfway around rather than do the full 1, 2, 360 rotation. We'll just do about half. I think that would be. I think that could be enough right there. But you can kind of see this is 4 out of potentially I could have done 8 rotations. There's any number of increments. There's little marks on the device that sort of tell you where you can put it. I guess I'll just leave it here so you can sort of see that. And then I'll kind of go back here. And yeah, we can hop right into questions if there's any questions. Otherwise, I can show you some other things. Oops. Here's another. This is done on the sort of standard size angle chase, and you know, you could call it letterpress spirograph. I've seen some amazing things done with it. I don't know if I have the patience to really take the time to really run an edition of what you can really do with it, but so.
Richard, I'll jump in real quick with the first question. How much are you fabricating 3D printing on your own right there? I know you said you injection molded some of the blocks, but I mean, what's your fabrication? Well,
the rotary angle chase, these are all 3D printed. I looked into having molds made, and there's no way it could be practical. So they take a long time to print, and there's 2 places. Some of it, a very small amount of it, I print at the local makerspace, but most of it's actually done by my son, who has a fledgling 3D printing enterprise, and I do want to encourage him. So I'm basically his best client right now. So the print hangers and the angle chases, and we've actually prototyping a couple other things. Again, tools that might not be that easy to get a hold of, that may have been made a while ago, or just some twist on a classic letterpress tool that, again, it's not easy to find these things other than on the secondary market.
Sure. So while we're on that briefly, does your son have a URL for his 3D printing?
I wish he did, because I would plug it right now. But when he does, I will put it on, link to it heavily on my Instagram. So the Dry Ink Instagram is usually where I post. But the website, I think, was posted in the comments. Yes, thank you, Amelia. But while we're waiting for any other questions, which I encourage, I did want to show my background really is in bookbinding, and this is the latest book. It's a very rather small book that I've completed. It was started when I was at Wells College, which has a archive of Victor Hammer's work, punches and matrices of some of his typefaces, and some things that had never really seen the light of day. So this book was a combination of a series of, I think there's 7 of these photographs of Victor Hammer that were taken in the 1940s when he was at Wells College, along with some tip-ins of prints from his typefaces. And there are also, this is a digital digitization of what's the word? A proposition for the Underwood Typewriter Company to do an unchilled typewriter face, which is really really interesting. And there's hand cut patrices that were in the collection. So these were lightly proofed and then digitized and regularized. So this is what it would look like if it were actually made. But that type does not exist anywhere in the world. And then the sort of main reason for doing this book was the Victor Hammer unchilled typefaces, which he designed quite a few. Most people have seen American Unchill and probably see it almost every day if you walk down any city street and go by an Irish pub, or it gets used an awful lot. But his development of this typeface and there's an interesting story behind the whole thing. And he also did some Greeks, and the Greek type punches were in the Wells collection. So I'm going to be talking about this book at the University of Kentucky next week. So anyway, this is the last book that I put together. So I did learn some bookbinding, and I started bookbinding before I actually started printing. So I've been doing binding for a long time. And so Dry Ink Studio kind of gives me the ability to indulge in all these fun things that I enjoy doing and try to figure out how to actually keep it going and pay the rent. And I think there's a good chance I can make it work with these little products on the side. But meanwhile, I'm in this studio and actually just closed on a building where I'm going to be moving into another space that I won't be paying rent once it move in. So pretty excited about that.
Speaking of bookbinding, Beth was curious what you keep in the drawers of those bindery tables that are the old card catalogs.
It's kind of a cabinet of curiosities for sure. There's a lot of cassette tapes in there. There's some there's a tanned cobra skin. There's bookbinding supplies. Yeah, that's a practical thing that's in there. Gold leafing material, just things that I didn't know where else to put. So yeah, every drawer has something in it, but it's some bookbinding supplies.
So how big is the edition of the Faces of Victor Hammer?
It turned out that it was only 50. I started this book about 5 years ago at Wells, and when I left as director, the book was left unfinished, and I knew it was sort of sitting there. So I proposed that I would finish the book as a co-imprint of Wells College Press and my own imprint. And in trying to get more of the paper I used, I found that it couldn't be obtained. So rather than worry about trying to get the additional paper to make the full edition of 100, I just shortened the edition to 50 copies.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Is there any other questions for Richard before we wind up? We're zooming in right on the hour here, but it's been such a treat for me to see what you're doing there and the setup. I've been admiring the angled chases and all the stuff that's been coming out of Dry Ink. So it's really cool to see it. We actually had Richard lined up to teach with us. I think it was in June of 2020. I think that didn't happen for some reason. I'm trying to remember.
I got busy.
Mm-hmm. But we're so glad to get this tour today. And any other parting thoughts you'd like to give, Richard?
No, I mean, I love working here. It's kind of my happy place, and I'm also very happy to share any information. If anybody has questions and wants to email directly, I won't ignore them. I'll give you the courtesy of a response and hopefully engage in maybe a deeper conversation. But yeah, hopefully I can come out and do a workshop at some point. And meanwhile, I suppose I could clean the place up a little bit, but then it's not as fun to work here. So anyway, if you're in Rochester, give a holler, and happy to show you around the place.
Well, again, thank you so much, Richard. It was really wonderful to see where you're working and to get a view of all those cool cuts and the vault and everything. So thank you all for joining us. We have yet to announce, we have yet to fully settle on who will be our December From the Bench guest. But once we do, that will be on our website. So please keep an eye there. But in the meantime, thank you all for joining us. I'm going to stop recording now, but if you're free to want to hang out before I close everything out and ask Richard questions directly. So thanks all for coming.
Okay, thanks.